Welcome to the Wilson ASU located in North Carolina. The purpose of this orientation video is to ensure contractors working on air gas property are properly informed regarding the safety requirements, hazards associated with our property, and the basic rules of conduct which every person must abide to ensure safety for all. Air gas utilizes a variety of tools to ensure your safety. Please reach out to your air gas associate for additional questions or clarification. This site follows the DOT site security rules. Park outside of our gates in designated areas. Enter into the control room to sign in for access to the property. You are subject to lunchbox inspections at the plant manager's discretion. Firearms, weapons, and explosives are prohibited on air gas property. Contractors are also prohibited from being under the influence or in possession of drugs or alcohol while on air gas property. And please report all suspicious activity. Smoking is allowed only in designated areas. These areas at Wilson are located outside the perimeter of the fence in the parking lot and at the back of the property at the picnic table. Air gas makes available work-safe rules, which are located near our contractor logbook where you log in the control room. Before you begin work, you're going to be required to have a hazard work permit. This permit identifies potential hazards and corrective actions at the job site that you're going to be at, and it sets the safe work conditions. See your air gas associate to ensure you have the proper hazard work permit prior to the start of work. This facility maintains a safety data sheet book in the control room and other select locations. The book is available for anyone upon request. If you're bringing a hazardous chemical onto air gas property, you must first notify the plant manager prior to doing so. Provide a safety data sheet or SDS for each chemical. Ensure the proper personal protective equipment and safety rules are addressed as listed in the safety data sheet in order to prevent exposure to contractors and others. Hazardous materials are labeled and marked in accordance with the hazardous materials regulations. Piping systems are marked in accordance with ANSI standards. Refer any questions regarding piping or container content to the plant manager or designee prior to starting work on the equipment. Under the Hazard Communication Program, there are two primary hazards at the Wilson ASU. They are liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen, also referred to as LOX and LIN. The LOX tank is located at the north end of the property. LOX is an oxidizer that may accelerate combustion or intensify fire. LOX, or liquid oxygen, is a refrigerated liquid that can cause burns or injury. Liquid oxygen causes similar burns to frostbite when in contact with the skin. Combustibles in contact with LOX may explode or ignite. Avoid spills and do not walk or roll equipment over the spills of liquid oxygen. Avoid the vapor clouds that form when LOX expands into a gas, and seek medical attention immediately if you come into contact with LOX. This site also contains liquid nitrogen, also called LIN. The LIN tanks are located at the north end of the property. LIN is a cryogenic liquid that can cause burns similar to frostbite when in contact with the skin. It is also an asphyxiant that may displace oxygen and cause rapid suffocation. Do not walk through or stand in vapor clouds. Seek medical attention immediately if you come in contact with the cryogenic liquid. Additional information is available in your statement of policy form. The water in our water treatment room uses corrosive chemicals to treat the cooling tower water. Corrosive chemicals cause visible destruction of and irreversible alterations in living tissue by chemical action at the site of contact. They may also cause respiratory irritation if inhaled. Use adequate ventilation and proper personal protective equipment when handling these chemicals. Refer to the Statement of Policy handout for further information. Emergency procedures for exposure to cryogenic liquids and hazardous chemicals include referring to the specific safety data sheet for emergency response instructions. All exposures should be reported to the control room when possible for assistance with emergency response. For all cases of exposure, seek medical attention. For inhalation emergencies, remove the person to fresh air and give artificial respirations if indicated. For skin and eye exposures, rinse with clean tepid water for 15 minutes. Emergency eye wash and showers are located throughout the facility. And for ingestion and injection, refer to the safety data sheets for specific instructions. Again, always seek emergency medical attention. Air gas is committed to safety. We do this through a variety of systems, one being the Hazard Work Permit, where we identify hazards and mitigation strategies. Additional controls include engineering controls such as safety interlocks, alarms, and exhaust systems, administrative controls such as training and operating procedures, and personal protective equipment such as hard hats, safety glasses, and safety gloves. A plastic non-conductive hard hat, safety glasses, safety shoes, air monitors, and hearing protection are required at all times on Airgas property, except inside administrative buildings or as determined in your pre-job brief. Oxygen monitors detect oxygen-deficient atmospheres. You must wear an oxygen monitor in designated areas as defined in your pre-job brief. If the monitor detects an oxygen-deficient area, both a visual and audible alarm will sound. If your monitor alarms, evacuate the area immediately and report the incident to the plant manager or designee. Do not re-enter the area until permission is granted by the plant manager. Protecting our environment and the waterways is important to us. At Airgas, we store all chemical and waste liquids in containers within secondary containment. All impacted stormwater drains must be protected from spills or erosion from work activities. Any spills from any source must be cleaned up immediately to prevent contamination to land, water, or air, and must be reported immediately to the plant manager. Always have a current safety data sheet for each chemical on site. On-site disposal of any chemical must be discussed with the plant manager or designee prior to the disposal. This site adheres to strict housekeeping rules. All trash must be properly disposed of. Drop cords and other trip hazards must be controlled and clearly marked. Drop cords should be run overhead when possible. Barriers or other warnings of hazards should be in place when performing hazardous work. The use of any hazardous material requires permission from Airgas management. Combustible scrap will not be allowed to accumulate for more than 1 day, and the contractor shall make the necessary arrangements to remove all trash from Airgas premises. Work areas must be kept clean during work, and all debris must be removed when the job is done. The site should look cleaner than when you first arrived. Do not block fire exits, firefighting equipment, or electrical panels. Keep emergency equipment clear for use, including emergency eye wash and showers. Fire extinguishers are located throughout the property. Where contractors perform hazardous work like cutting and welding, preparations are expected to be made, which include the contractor providing their own fire extinguishers. Throughout the facility, you may find audible and visual alarms. If those alarms are activated, it is to warn you of a potential atmospheric hazard or other hazard. When the alarm is activated, do not enter the area. Airgas stores a first aid kit and automatic external defibrillator or AED in the maintenance shop to assist those in need. All injuries, incidents, and near misses must be reported immediately to the Airgas personnel who will assist you in the emergency response. If an emergency occurs, report the problem to the Airgas personnel and seek medical attention for the victim immediately. If it is safe to do so, make sure the scene is made safe for others. Emergency eye wash and showers can be found at the northwest and southeast sides of the plant near the water treatment rooms. If an injury occurs and blood is spilled, notify the control room for the appropriate blood spill cleanup. This is the Emergency Action Plan plot map. If you look at this map, at the very bottom of the map, you'll see two small cars. That is the parking lot where you're going to park when you enter our facility. In front of those cars is the control building, which is where you're going to check in and log into our logbook. If an emergency occurs, an air horn will sound, and when you hear the air horn, you're going to evacuate out that front gate by the cars, and that area in the parking lot is our primary assembly point. If that exit is blocked or not accessible, you can exit out the rear emergency evacuation point, which is at the top of that picture, and to the right behind the tanks is our secondary assembly point. Once at your assembly point, you're going to check in. All personnel must be accounted for. Anyone missing is going to be reported to the police or fire department so that we can search for you. Due to electrical hazards, conductive ladders are prohibited. Prior to using your ladder, inspect it for damaged footings, broken rungs, or unreadable labels. Ladders should be appropriate for the job, maintained in good condition, and used in accordance with applicable standards and regulations. To prevent injuries from falling objects, barricade the area from foot traffic when overhead work is being done. All tools must be inspected before use and in good working condition. Tools should only be used for the purpose in which they were designed and in accordance with applicable standards and regulations. If the work to be done is in a flammable environment, the equipment should be intrinsically safe. There are many confined spaces throughout the plant. You must have a permit to enter these spaces and be authorized by the permit writer. You must also be trained in confined space entry by your employer. Follow all OSHA and air gas rules when working in confined spaces. Air gas lockout tagout requires all air gas equipment to be de-energized and locked out prior to work being performed on the equipment. Orange locks are specific to lockout of equipment only and should not be used for any other purpose. Red locks are specifically used to identify a person performing work under a lockout. Red locks should display the user's name and are affixed to the lockbox after all equipment is locked out, and the keys to the orange locks are stored in the lockbox. Only personnel certified to operate mobile equipment, cranes, hoists, and rigging are authorized to use these items on air gas property. Contractor personnel shall only utilize such equipment with permission and where there is a need. A copy of all necessary certifications and licensures shall be provided to the air gas plant manager prior to work. Remember, if you are aware of any hazards, exposures, or hazardous materials associated with any work performed, you must notify the air gas plant manager or designee prior to beginning work. Review the statement of policy prior to work at Airgas and contact the Airgas plant manager if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you.